and how he always wanted to get into the hall, and his wife's always kicking him out of the hall. So
they'll get in eventually.
Yeah, but it's great now that he can at least make fun of that, because for so long he lied about it. Now it's kind of like when Ben Johnson was doing commercials for the Cheetah sports drink a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Hey Ben, do you drink Cheetah? Yeah, I Cheetah all the time. So, and that was another great 30 for 30, the 979.
Yeah.
Is there anything out there, John? If you have any questions, put your hands up or I'll keep talking. Is there any Winnipeg centric memorabilia that you think is especially, kind of noteworthy or cool that's out there? I mean, I'm guessing a lot of it that would go to old Jet stuff.
A lot of it, for now, yes. I mean, until the Jets make the playoffs, which they will.
You just knocked on wood by hitting your thigh.
Yeah, that's a surgery that we can talk about later. I think waiting for that. No, a lot of it comes down to that those former Jets had a little bit more success. I mean, for the younger generation, they're the heroes now, but for the guys like myself that have a little bit more of that disposable income, we're more likely to spend to buy an old autograph or an old stick of some of the players that we grew up with. So, for example, in my basement is sitting a team signed stick from the 83-84 Jets. So for me to have a stick that has Randy Carlisle's autograph on it, Dale Hawerchuk's, Paul McLean's, that speaks to me. It speaks to that emotion that of meeting those players when I was a kid. So for me to be able to pick up some of those items, or to get, say, a Pat Allen stick, or to meet Solani for the 30th time, or whatever it is now, those are the kind of things that are going to resonate more now. But you look maybe, say, 10 years down the road, as long as the Jets are still here, you're going to start to see some of that retro back to that first team. You're going to get people who are going to say, oh, wait a minute, I have this stick signed by Ladd, and I have it signed by Wheeler, and I have it signed by Pavlik. I got Chris Mason at one point, but Evander Kane's not on here. Maybe I should actually go out to one of the games that he's playing in some godforsaken Deutsch League by that point, and get it signed. Not that I'm wishing ill will for Kane, but
no,
I know.
And so I guess some of those older players, if you get a chance, if Bobby Hill's back in town, that might be the thing to go and do, right? Go stand in line. And when I talked to him that time, he's a funny, I don't know how much you guys have dealt with him, he's a funny guy, and he doesn't give a crap what anybody thinks about him anymore. So I had my kid with me at the time, my son would have been about 8, and Bobby starts telling some story, and he's swearing, he'd be like, that's bleeping bleak guy in Chicago. And I said, hey, Bobby, kid. Sorry, kid. Anyway, so this bleeping bleak guy in Chicago. So, so he it's funny, but then, he's a little bit inappropriate, a lot inappropriate sometimes, because when guys would come up for his autograph, no problem here. And, when my wife came up for an autograph, sit right here, darling.
Yep.
And, he still thinks he's a 28-year-old stud in Chicago. So, but
his rug would tell you differently.
Yeah. Well, I feel a bit bad for Bobby. I saw him at the Gordie Howe thing, and he's sitting there, and he's a little shaky, and there's talk of him having, maybe early signs of dementia, or some, he took so many shots to the head when he was the guy going out and scoring all the goals, didn't have any protection. He's having to fight guys also.
Mm-hmm.
You get your bell rung, then get back out there. So, and he'll be, actually, Bobby now is in town fairly regularly. So if you guys get a chance to go and see him, and he'll tell great stories, and he'll tell the unfiltered version. So, like, don't take your 8-year-old kid with you, but you can hear all.
Or your wife.
Or your wife, yeah. It gets a bit awkward. So, now, this next book, I mean, we're just, so many authors who I've interviewed before are promoting their book, and at the same time, they got another one already in the go. It's kind of like talking to a musician who's already working on the next album. So,
the next record is going to be a smashing hit.
I don't know, this sounds like we're going to get into Spinal Tap territory.
Yeah, seriously.
So what's the next book here?
It's the top 100 things that a Winnipeg Jets fan should know and do before they die.
So without going through we're going to go through the whole list before you guys go.
Now, come on, there's still another book launch to come for that.
Let's give us one of those.
Well, I think the number one is to celebrate at Portage in Maine. Something unfortunately we haven't had a chance to do for a few years now, but when you look at the celebrations that would happen for the Avco Cup teams, or signing Bobby Hall, signing Dale Howardchuk, when the Jets came back, the impromptu celebration at Portage in Maine, those are the kind of things that, for whatever reason, and I was talking with Barry Shankro about it, and his simple explanation was that it's one of the most famous intersections in Canada, so why not? But the reality is that it has become, because of that tradition that was built by Benny Haskins signing Hull at Portage in Maine, it's the one that started to resonate. Other ones on the list, the Chris Draper trade that didn't work out in the Jets' favor. The whole Evander Kane saga is...
Where he got traded for $1, right?
Yeah, he got traded for $1. The Evander Kane saga is going to be going in there. The whole incident with Adam Hardy in Chicago is going to be part of that.
Wait, what's that one?
That's when the fan ripped the helmet off his head, yeah. And the banning that happened, even though some of the Jets campaigned for everybody to wear helmets to the next Chicago game. So that's going to be in there. Talking about Sir Savard coming to Winnipeg. The 3 different stories that I've heard about why John Ferguson had a fiberglass enclosure at his spot in the press box. So,
well, we can't leave people hang on that one. What was that?
So Fergie was known to be a little bit gruff, a little bit violent. Let's be honest. Both in his playing days and his managerial days, he was actually the one that sent out Bobby Clark to go and
break Harlem's leg.
Yeah. So in the days of the Jets, he would get quite animated up in the press box in his little perch. And as the story goes, or as he liked to tell it, is that one time he was so animated that his chair flew out from behind him, and he had to grab the end of the press box to try to stabilize himself. So that's the story that he told. Scott Campbell told me a different story. Scott being a WHA and NHL player. So Scott said that the reason why he did it is because he would routinely throw ice cubes down at the players during practice. So the management decided that they're going to stop that by putting the glass enclosure around. Scott Taylor, Free Press reporter at the time, told me a completely different story. And the story that he swears is the truth is that what happened one game was that he got so animated he started throwing papers around, and sure enough, those papers, which probably had confidential information on them, went over and into the crowd. So then management decided that we're going to make sure that that never happens again. Let aside all the swearing that came out of his stall, and they put in the enclosure.
All right, so we're going to have a reading in a second here, unless there's any other questions from you guys. Going once, going twice.
All right,
take it away.
So I thought it would only be appropriate to do a reading about the Jets. Within the book, I talk about each of the 30 teams and the existing teams, along with just a couple of the pieces from their history. For 15 years, the good people of Winnipeg waited. Year in and year out, the city whose beloved Jets left for Phoenix in 1996 were taunted by rumors of the big league returning to the Manitoba capital. They bided their time by showing phenomenal support for the IHL and AHL's Manitoba Moose and playing favorable host to the 1999 World Junior Hockey Championships and the 2007 Women's World Hockey Championships. Truly, Winnipeg was branding itself as a hockey haven and certainly made itself an attractive option for teams that were rumored to want to make a move, including at various junctures the Florida Panthers, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Nashville Predators. But the strongest relocation rumors came ironically from Phoenix. The Coyotes were deep in financial trouble for years, even eventually filing for bankruptcy under the ownership of Jerry Moyes. The team was owned by the NHL when, during the 2010-2011 season, a number of groups, including Winnipeg's True North Sports and Entertainment, made their voices of interest heard. The original Jets came painfully close to coming back home before the NHL brass decided to hold up the Coyotes in Phoenix for one more season while they found a new ownership group, one that would keep the team in the desert. We literally came within 10 minutes of acquiring the Coyotes in May 2010 when the city of Glendale met a 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time deadline to wire the funds necessary to pay for the league's losses for the 2011 season Mark Chipman told the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce in June of 2011. We left somewhat disappointed, but uplifted by the fact that the league had taken us so seriously and, as a consequence, had indicated it would just be a matter of time before we would acquire that team. That matter of time assessment proved to be truer than anyone could anticipate. Prior to the Coyotes sale starting, there had been rumors that the Atlanta Thrashers could be on the move as well, and that Winnipeg would be a likely destination. Soon after the Coyotes were confirmed to stay in Phoenix for another year, reporter Stephen Brunt announced in the Globe and Mail that True North had purchased the Atlanta franchise and was relocating the team to Winnipeg. The rather informal announcement touched off an enormous celebration on May 19, 2011, one that was only superseded on May 31st when official word came. The NHL was coming back to Winnipeg. There was only one problem. No one knew what the team was going to be called. Several names ranging from the Ice and to the Falcons were bandied about, but there was no official moniker attached to the press conference that occurred on May 31st. The name has not been chosen, Chipman said during the presser. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman was quite accurate when he said we worked right until the very early hours of this morning to conclude this transaction. We knew we have been singularly focused on that effort for many weeks now. Chipman himself had his own favorite. During a July 2011 interview, he revealed that he likes the name Bears the most for the new franchise, pointing to the polar bear as a symbol of prosperity for the province of Manitoba. And yet it seemed inevitable that the one name that would be suitable, and speculation that only one name would be suitable, and that speculation was made official at the 2011 NHL entry draft, suitably hosted in St. Paul, Minnesota, close enough for Winnipeggers to make the cross-border drive. It is now my pleasure, Chipman said to the crowd at the XL Energy Center and to thousands of Winnipeggers watching at home at the MTS Center and in homes across the city. It is now my pleasure to introduce our Executive Vice President and General Manager, Mr. Kevin Cheveldayoff, who will make our first pick on behalf of the Winnipeg Jets. Excitement grew in Winnipeg, and in the summer of 2011, the franchise also revealed their new logo, as well as jerseys, hats, t-shirts, all of which sold out in mere minutes at the team's official store at the MTS Center. But if you really wanted to see memorabilia fly, then you had to be in attendance at the opening game. Ticket holders received commemorative versions of their valuable paper that they held in their hands, and serial-numbered programs were available throughout the arena. The memorabilia craze continued throughout the season. Replicas of those first game tickets in bronze and silver were available, as were panoramic shots of the first puck drop. While the Jets failed to make the playoffs in their first campaign, it didn't seem like anybody cared. The MTS Center was a madhouse as fans cheered the Jets and thoroughly booed their enemies. Creativity peaked in a battle against Washington when Alex Ovechkin was taunted with the taunt of Crosby's better. Despite all the memorabilia and memorable moments, nothing was quite as unique as a specially made beer. Dubbed Fan Brew by Budweiser, the unique concoction featured the usual ingredients that go into the tasty adult treat, but also included water from a number of locations across the city, including the MTS Center and the famed tourist location, The Forks. Thank you.
All right, thanks, John. So now we're going to, what are we going to do now?
I think we'll get some signs on unless anybody has any other questions.
And there's cake.
There you go.
All right, so thanks for coming out, everybody.
Thank you.
So John's going to be sitting over here. You can come over and talk to him. And the McNally staff are going to be serving cake and water, right?
Coffee too?
Coffee, sorry, coffee. All right, thanks for coming out, everybody.
Thank you.